The guitar solo in Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers is one of the first ones that I ever learned. And it's also one of the first songs and solos that I try to teach anybody when I'm giving them guitar lessons, because it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple as far as solos go. But even now, it's one of my favorites, possibly because of nostalgia, because of it being one of the first that I learned, and because I was such a huge fan of the band at the time. But even looking at it now, I really love the creative decisions that they made. First of all, John Frusciante, the guitarist for Red Hot Chili Peppers at the time, he wrote a solo and played a solo that is way under his technical skill level. And that's one thing that impresses me, because I know as a young guitarist, I was always trying to push myself, trying to play as fast as I can. And I was listening to a lot of people who were doing stuff like that, a lot of shredders like Yngwie Malmsteen. I listened to Steve Vai, who doesn't do that all the time, but like he has his moments when he shreds. I was listening to later on, a lot of technical metal bands, I guess you could call like mathcore, or just progressive metal. I was listening to Protest the Hero, The Human Abstract, The Fall of Troy, just lots of bands that were, in terms of their guitar work, doing a lot of complicated things. John was able to just hold back and not try to, I guess, show off what he could do with the instrument. He just wanted to create good melodies, good solid melodies, and leave a lot of space for other sounds. And that's what he did with this solo especially. It has such a relaxed feel to it. Every note is given its time to shine. A lot of the movement in the solo comes from the bass player in the band, Flea. I'm pretty sure it was James Hetfield from Metallica who said this. He's talked about how one of the most important things about a guitar solo is the rhythm behind the solo. And when I looked back at the solos that I loved, they always had an amazing backing, amazing rhythm behind it. And in the case of the Californication solo, that backup comes from Flea, and he does an amazing job of just supporting John when he decides to take time in between notes. It feels like he's just kind of in a boat or something, just floating along in that solo. That's an image that comes to my mind. But then there's Flea behind it, like providing structure. It's almost like Flea's the solid, he's the boat, and John's almost like the water, just flowing around. They both leave space for each other. You can see that in the intro of the song, how they just go back and forth. It starts with John's riff, and then Flea comes in with something, and then it's John, and then Flea. It's like calling and answering. And it's almost like a conversation during this solo. You really see the relationship between the two instruments, the guitar and the bass here. And that's a staple in a lot of Red Hot Chili Peppers songs. Not only because Flea is such a great bass player, but he had the perfect dance partner in John, who was willing to give him the space to do his thing. This is a solo that's always gonna have a special place in my heart, as corny as that sounds, just because of when I heard it and when I learned it as a young guitarist. Any guitarist who's starting out, wanting to learn how to play a guitar solo, this is definitely a great one to start with.